two vicious lion attacks on African poachers. The African wilderness bore scars of human greed, its harmony disrupted by the relentless pursuit of profit. Once, herds of elephants roamed freely, their majestic forms casting long shadows over the savanna. But now, silence hung heavy in places where their trumpeting calls once echoed. Carcasses, stripped of ivory, dotted the land, grim reminders of the poachers who sought to carve wealth from the wilderness. The balance of life teetered precariously, the ripple effects felt by predator and prey alike. Amid this chaos, two men, Sam and Lusene, stepped into the fray, their intentions as ruthless as the weapons they carried. Sam and Lusene had been tracking their quarry since dawn. Clad in tattered clothing and armed with high-caliber rifles, they moved with the practiced stealth of seasoned poachers. The elephants they pursued were oblivious to the impending danger, their massive forms silhouetted against the horizon as they lumbered toward a waterhole. "There they are," Sam whispered, his voice low and edged with greed. "The big one on the left, that's our prize." Lusene stands beside Sam, his eyes filled with ambition as they prepare for their hunt. Lusene nodded, his eyes narrowing as he surveyed the herd. "We'll take him down quick. The sooner we're out of here, the better." The pair had no reverence for the majestic creatures before them. To them, the elephants were walking banks, their ivory tusks worth a fortune on the black market. As Sam raised his rifle, a deep rumble echoed across the plains. He paused, scanning the horizon. "What was that?" Lusene asked, his grip tightening on his weapon. Sam shook his head. "Probably nothing. Focus." But it wasn't nothing. Unbeknownst to the poachers, they had ventured into a territory fiercely guarded by another apex predator. A pride of lions had been watching their every move, their golden eyes glinting with quiet menace. The lions had no understanding of ivory or greed, but they sensed the disruption these men brought to their land. The first shot cracked like thunder, shattering the midday tranquility. The bull elephant let out a heart-wrenching bellow, its massive body swaying before collapsing to the ground. The rest of the herd scattered, their trumpeting cries reverberating through the savanna. Sam and Lusene wasted no time. They descended upon the fallen giant, hacking at its tusks with machetes. Sweat poured down their faces as they worked, their hands slick with blood. The air was thick with the metallic stench of death. "Hurry up," Lusene urged, casting nervous glances around them. "We're exposed out here." Sam grunted in response, his focus unwavering. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they wrestled with the massive ivory. Finally, with one last heave, they dislodged the tusks. The gleaming prizes lay heavy in their hands, symbols of their successful kill. But the wilderness was far from silent. From the shadows of a nearby thicket, the pride of lions crept closer. The male, a towering beast with a mane like a storm cloud, led the way, his steps deliberate and silent. His lionesses flanked him, their sleek bodies rippling with muscle and intent. Sam and Lusene, oblivious to their stalkers, loaded the tusks onto their makeshift cart. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the savanna, they set off toward their hidden campsite. In the harsh African wilderness, two poachers, Sam and Lusene, pursue elephants driven by greed, leading to a deadly confrontation with lions, while Agok, haunted by his brother's death caused by hyenas, seeks revenge and faces the brutal reality of nature's reckoning. "This will fetch a good price," Sam said, his voice tinged with triumph. "If we make it out alive," Lusene muttered. His unease was growing, though he couldn't pinpoint why. It felt as if unseen eyes were boring into his back. By the time the poachers reached their campsite, the sun had sunk below the horizon, and the wilderness was cloaked in twilight. The distant calls of hyenas echoed through the air, a haunting melody that set Lusene's nerves on edge. "We'll rest here for the night," Sam declared, dropping his pack onto the ground. "We'll move out at first light." Agok, haunted by his brother's death caused by hyenas, seeks revenge and faces the brutal reality of nature's reckoning. Lusene nodded, though his unease hadn't abated. As they built a small fire, the flickering flames cast eerie shadows that danced among the trees. The warmth and light offered some comfort, but it was fleeting. "Did you hear that?" Lusene whispered, his voice barely audible. Sam frowned. "Hear what?" "A growl, close by." Sam laughed, though it was forced. "It's just your imagination. Relax." But Lusene couldn't relax. He gripped his rifle tightly, his eyes darting into the darkness beyond the firelight. The growl came again, low and guttural, vibrating through the ground. This time, Sam heard it too. His laughter died in his throat as the realization dawned. "Lions," he whispered. The poachers stood back to back, their weapons raised. The fire crackled, the only barrier between them and the encroaching shadows. The pride emerged, their golden eyes glowing like embers. The male lion let out a deafening roar, shaking the air and sending a jolt of primal fear through the men. The lions moved as one, a seamless unit of muscle and instinct. The lionesses circled the poachers, their tails flicking as they gauged their prey. The male held his ground, his massive frame a living wall of power and authority. Sam fired his rifle, the shot illuminating the night for a brief moment. One of the lionesses yelped and fell, but the others didn't waver. They closed the gap, their growls building into a symphony of rage. Lusene panicked. He turned and ran, his boots pounding against the earth. "Lusene!" Sam shouted, but it was too late. One of the lionesses broke away, pursuing the fleeing man with terrifying speed. Sam fired again, the bullet grazing another lioness, but he was outnumbered. The lions surged forward, their roars drowning out his curses. The male leaped, his claws raking across Sam's chest and sending him sprawling to the ground. The rifle skittered out of reach. Lusene didn't make it far. The lioness tackled him, her claws sinking into his shoulders. He screamed, thrashing in a futile attempt to free himself. The lioness bit down, silencing him forever. By morning, the savannah was quiet once more. The fire had burned out, leaving only smoldering embers. The pride of lions lounged near their kill, their bellies full. The male stood watch, his gaze sweeping the horizon as the first rays of sunlight bathed the land in gold. The poacher's cart, laden with the stolen ivory, lay abandoned. Nature had reclaimed its own, and the balance was restored. The elephant's mourning calls echoed in the distance, a somber requiem for the fallen. In the end, the wilderness had spoken. It was a harsh, unyielding place, where those who disrupted its harmony paid the ultimate price. For Sam and Lusene, greed had led them to a reckoning they could neither foresee nor escape. The scene shifts to a confrontation with lions, capturing the raw power and ferocity of the animals as they defend their territory. And so the African savanna continued its timeless dance, a testament to the power and beauty of life and the inexorable justice of nature. In the harsh African wilderness, two poachers, Sam and Lusene, pursue elephants driven by greed, leading to a deadly confrontation with lions. While Agok, haunted by his brother's death caused by hyenas, seeks revenge and faces the brutal reality of nature's reckoning. If you're enjoying this video so far, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. It helps us to continue making valuable videos for our viewers. Story 2, The Haunting of Agok. Agok, haunted by his brother's death caused by hyenas, seeks revenge and faces the brutal reality of nature's reckoning. The African wilderness had always been a double-edged sword for Agok, a place of bountiful hunting and deep personal loss. Years ago, the savannah had claimed his younger brother, Sane, in a brutal attack by a pack of hyenas during a hunting expedition. Agok had arrived too late, finding only the mutilated remains of his sibling and the haunting laughter of the scavengers echoing in his ears. Agok was a solitary figure. Unlike other poachers who worked in groups, he chose isolation, driven by his vendetta and the growing shadows of his fractured mind. Armed with a bolt-action rifle and a satchel of ammunition, he roamed the wilderness not for wealth or survival, but for revenge. His fury blinded him to the dangers of the Savanna, where apex predators ruled and only the keenest senses ensured survival. On a blistering afternoon, Agok's relentless wandering brought him to a desolate watering hole. The cracked earth beneath his boots radiated heat, and the air shimmered in the oppressive sun. He spotted movement in the distance, a group of 5 hyenas scavenging a wildebeest carcass. Their guttural cackles sent a spike of rage through his chest. "You filthy demons," he muttered, gripping his rifle tightly. Agok crept closer, his steps heavy with purpose. His focus narrowed to the scavengers, his vision tunneling as his pulse quickened. Every instinct screamed for caution, but his mind was clouded by the ghosts of the past. Unbeknownst to him, he was not alone. 4 male lions had been shadowing his movements for hours. The predators, drawn by the scent of blood and the noise of the scavenging hyenas, had taken an interest in Agok, an intruder in their territory. Unlike the scavengers, the lions were patient, their golden eyes observing him with predatory calm. Agok reached the crest of a hill overlooking the hyenas. He dropped to one knee, taking aim. His heart thundered in his chest, his finger trembling on the trigger. "This is for Sane," he whispered. The rifle cracked, the bullets striking true. One hyena collapsed, its body jerking as the others scattered, yelping in fear. But Agok wasn't done. He reloaded and fired again, his movements mechanical and devoid of reason. He pursued the fleeing hyenas, his anger overriding any sense of self-preservation. The lions, however, had decided it was time to act. Agok's single-minded hatred had made him oblivious to the world around him. He didn't notice the flicker of golden fur in the tall grass or the soft pads of feet closing in. As Agok fired another shot, a low growl resonated behind him. He froze, the hair on the back of his neck standing on end. Slowly, he turned, his wide eyes meeting the gaze of a massive male lion. Before Agok could react, the lion pounced. The impact was like being hit by a freight train, the force knocking him to the ground and sending his rifle skittering away. Agok screamed, his voice raw with terror and pain, as the lion's claws raked across his chest and arms. He flailed desperately, his fists pounding against the lion's massive frame, but his strength was nothing compared to the predator's. The other 3 lions emerged from the grass, their eyes gleaming with primal hunger. They circled the struggling man, their low growls blending into a symphony of menace. Agok's vision blurred as he felt the lion's jaws close around his left arm. The pain was excruciating, a white-hot fire that consumed him. Agok scrambled to his feet, adrenaline surging through his veins. Blood poured from his wounds, staining the earth beneath him. He staggered toward his rifle, his mind screaming for survival. The lions gave chase, their roars echoing across the savanna. Agok reached his rifle, his bloodied hands fumbling as he chambered around. He turned and fired blindly, the shot grazing one of the lions. Each step was agony, his body screaming in protest, but his will to live drove him forward. He collapsed beneath a dense acacia tree, the thorny branches forming a makeshift barrier. The lions prowled outside, their growls vibrating through the air. Agok pressed his back against the tree trunk, clutching his shattered arm. His vision dimmed, darkness creeping at the edges. Hours passed. The lions eventually lost interest, retreating into the night. Agok remained motionless, his breath shallow and ragged. When he finally emerged, the first rays of dawn bathed the savanna in golden light. He stumbled toward the horizon, a broken man both physically and mentally. Agok survived, but the cost was immense. His left arm was gone, a jagged stump serving as a grim reminder of his encounter. Yet his hatred for hyenas remained, his mind further fractured by the trauma. He returned to his village, a shadow of his former self. The locals avoided him, whispering tales of his madness and the lions that had spared his life. Agok's nights were plagued by nightmares, his brother's laughter and the roars of lions merging into a cacophony of torment. He no longer ventured into the wilderness, the once familiar savanna, now a realm of terror and regret. In the end, Agok's hatred had blinded him to the realities of the wild. The savanna, indifferent to his pain and vengeance, had delivered a harsh lesson. Survival demanded respect for the balance of nature, and those who ignored it did so at their peril. We hope you found value and enjoyed these stories. Give us a like on this video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.